We are live. How you doing, baseball fans? It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it with our second post-game show here of the 2024 New York Metropolitan season, as I'm coming at you live on both YouTube and Twitter. So for my Twitter viewers, appreciate you all chiming in. Make sure to hit that follow and like button, retweet all that great stuff as we break down everything that you guys and gals need to know about today's matchup between the Mets and the Brewers, as Milwaukee tries to take 2 out of 3 here in Citi Field, and for the Mets trying to rebound after a horrendous opening day in which they only had themselves one measly hit thanks to Starling Marte's home run. For my YouTube viewers, appreciate you guys and gals as always. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Help us get to 100 likes at some point here in the live show, and donations, of course, always answered first. Thank you all so much in advance for that. Not asking for them, but you guys know the drill, especially if we have a heated chat. Normally that is the easiest way to kind of weave out the comments, that type of thing. But for my Twitter viewers too, if you want to interact with me, the interaction will only be happening on YouTube. So a little bit further incentive, make sure you guys are still chiming in on YouTube and all that fun stuff. But we have a lot to get into today. That is certainty, with Easter right around the corner tomorrow, which I'm excited about. There will be no pregame show tomorrow, naturally, because of the holiday. Not even for certain if there will be a postgame show. It's up in the air right now. We'll see how the day goes. We'll be busy with family. But no less, I appreciate everyone taking the time to chime in as we play to break down on today's lineups, because as you see, it is not the same as yesterday. It only took one game for Carlos Mendoza to say, you know what, we're going to mix things up a little bit. So what exactly did he do and why did he make the decisions that he did is what we're about to deep dive. But of course, again, appreciate everyone first chiming in. I see Josh, Rangers Central, my man Core Python, Yoshima, great member, Josh, Frankie, Ricky, Subaru, how you doing? Elikes, Chris, loyal member, Dominic, great member as always. Hope you all are doing fantastic. And we're going to go through first the lineups that you see from both sides here. Of course, we have a 1:40 p.m. start today, so this live stream will probably go right up until right around when we are going to have the game today. I wanted to do the live show around noon today. Unfortunately, time wasn't on my side. You will see that kind of fluctuate for pregame shows at times, but ultimately the goal is to try to go live not too long after we initially find out the lineup. So bear that in mind as you guys follow on YouTube throughout the calendar year. But we see the Mets lineups here. We're going to break them down. What is Carlos Mendoza thinking? And then we'll get into the pitching matchups so that you guys and gals can see right here just for a second. Give you a little sneak peek, especially if you didn't chime into yesterday's show. We got the pitching matchups with the two guys too. How are they looking? What can we expect from Sevy and D Hall? And then we're going to wrap things up by getting into my favorite picks and props of the day with our amazing friends and sponsor here at BetUS, who has you covered with all your sports betting needs. Make sure you click the link down below. That way you too get a 125% bonus with your first 3 deposits. And again, make sure you guys and gals bet responsibly. Highly implore you all do so. I hope for all that tailed my parlay yesterday, I'm sorry. I hope you didn't sprinkle too much money there. It could have went worse. So just like the Mets, it's only up from here. Yesterday, I have the New York Metropolitans money line, thinking it would be a lock for opening day win. I'm an idiot, clearly. Secondly, we saw Philadelphia Phillies run line at +1.5, and they decided to give up 7 runs in the 8th, or right around there. Shout out to the bullpen for being absolutely cooked in Philly. And then I also had the Toronto Blue Jays money line, thinking Chris Bassett's going to go out and shove. Shame on me. Gives up a freaking grand salami, the first of the year, to Mr. Brandon Lowe, and that's 0 for 3. So we're trying to bounce back from a rough first day of baseball coverage and our betting, and these are my picks of the day. But I do want to start things out again with the lineups, all that fun stuff. We will wrap things up with more of the betting discussion, as always, to everyone that bets responsibly. How's it going, Galt? Happy to have you in here. Steven, Daniel, everybody. All right, we're almost 5 minutes into this thing. I got to start talking about why you're watching the show, right? So continue to smash those buttons, and let's talk, folks. Look, we all saw how horrendous of a game that was yesterday between the Mets and the Brewers. If you're a Brewers fan, you're happy. If you're a Mets fan like me, you're not happy. You know, you're really wondering, did the 2023 season continue after what we saw yesterday, right? Starling Marte with his 3rd consecutive game, home opener rather, or just opening day in general with the home run, which was awesome. But that's all she wrote. And now we got the Rhys Hoskins, Jeff McNeil, latest raccoon incident going on. What I mean by that is, again, we all saw what happened yesterday. Hoskins is notorious. He's had a history with the Mets. We know this. This goes well beyond now just his time with the Milwaukee Brewers, which caused Jeff to react the way he did. Will the Mets hit Rhys Hoskins today? That's my first comment and question. Everyone watching this live on a replay and on Twitter, same applies. Drop your comments down below. Do the New York Metropolitans plunk Rhys Hoskins today? I'm going to tell you first and foremost, I'll be surprised if they do that. I know this is not the Buck Showalter ran Mets anymore. However, for a Mets team that had historic numbers in 2022 and then going into 2023 with hit by pitches, and they almost never retaliated, why should I expect any type of retaliation now when it was a slide into second base in which no one got hurt at the end of the day? That is why I do not foresee it happening. I know umps are going to be guarded and expecting something to happen. Carlos Mendoza just does not feel like the type that will go and pull the trigger for such a thing. But hey, if it does happen, then he will certainly prove me wrong and a lot of people wrong. But I'm not anticipating that to happen whatsoever today. I will certainly be shocked if it does. Truthfully, I mean that when I say that, because this team, the Mets, have shown us, you know, they can definitely show aggression, they can show emotion at times, but when it comes to retaliation, this Mets team, and they know it too, they're Charmin soft. I mean, they have done absolutely nothing over the years on the greatest magnitude in the biggest stages when they have been hit relentlessly or some type of drama or controversy, and they did very little in retaliation because of that. And I think that goes in hand with why the Mets have kind of been stomped on and stepped around over the years the way that they have, because they haven't had this certain backbone. They need that backbone. They need that identity. They need to make sure that opposing teams are aware they're not going to take no shit. And I hope Mendoza can try to figure out something where it makes sense to deliver a message without hurting anybody. But at the same time, again, I'm not getting my hopes up, and that's why I'm saying everything that I'm saying. But now let's talk about the lineups, okay? We see here with the Milwaukee Brewers, Sal Frelick is leading things up. He will be taking center field. We got William Contreras, who of course looked silly at times yesterday in his at-bats, but didn't have an RBI sac fly. Christian Yelich, who went lefty-lefty nuke on a hanging breaking ball against Jose Quintana yesterday, which tied the ball game 1-1 initially. Then we have Willie Adames in the 4-hole at short. Jake Bauers, who had himself a nice hit yesterday off of Jorge Lopez, which ultimately led to another run scored. Rhys Hoskins, that everybody and their mother hates, including myself if you're a Mets fan. He is in the DH spot today, batting 6th. Batting 7th is Oliver Dunn at third base there for Milwaukee. Batting 8th is Bryce Terrain at second base. And there in the 9th spot, who was leading off yesterday, pretty much another leadoff option for them in the 9th spot, Jackson Chourio, coming off of the $80+ million extension before the season began. The rookie had a really nice first game, looked fantastic with the glove and right, snagged some really nice balls, including Starling Marte with a nice drive that probably would have been a double off the wall if Jackson wasn't there with his glove in time, and also had the bat-to-ball skills too to show. So Jackson Chourio is no joke. We're seeing it right away. And now let's get on to the Mets here. TJ, thank you so much for the $10 holla. TJ says, with D Hall on the mound today, no excuses for the offense. Needs to find plate discipline. Can't go 0-8 and 0-10 before JD arrives. TJ, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but unfortunately, we might be in for a rude awakening. I'm going to tell you why DL Hall might just carve up the Mets today, and it's because of the same exact thing that a lot of other Southpaws have had in common against the Mets, and that is positive production. But before we get there, before we get more on the pitching matchups, let's take a look at the Mets lineup today, right? Look at this thing. Brandon Nimmo leading things off. Again, went 0 for yesterday. Everyone went 0 for not named Marte, so let's just clear the air there. Francisco Lindor back to batting second. Pete Alonso batting third. Tyrone Taylor. Yes, you heard that correctly. The former Milwaukee Brewer that came along with Adrian Hauser in the salary dump trade this past offseason. Two guys that David Stearns knows very well during his time as president there in Milwaukee. Tyrone Taylor, who has an over 900 career OPS, batting fourth. Cleanup will be batting cleanup for the Mets today. Jeff, again, provided no production yesterday. It's a lefty on righty matchup. Tyrone has fared well against lefties throughout his career too, from what we've seen in parts. Tyrone Taylor batting fourth today. Honestly, I have no problem with it because Taylor does have more power than McNeil. Taylor, just to give you guys context, one healthy, one right, one in the lab. Again, this is very much a guy that is a right around a north of a 20 home run bat, similar to Marte and the type of qualities that they bring, but especially a fastball heavy hitter. If he sees any meatballs down the plate, I have a good level of confidence in Tyrone Taylor to get on base and hopefully go gap to gap for the Mets today. Batting fifth is the one man that actually knew how to provide offense, and it was also the one man that had literally no offense whatsoever last year because his hips weren't even working, and that was Starling Marte. A healthy Marte proved that yes, he still got it, drilled a beautifully placed fastball in that we saw by Freddie Peralta yesterday. turned on so well by Marte. 109 mile per hour exit velocity, 381 feet there to left or center, right around there. That gave the Mets the early lead 1-0. Unfortunately, would not last because Freddie Peralta's a dog and this offense is cheeks. Jeff McNeil there batting sixth that we see. Jeff is looking to bounce back, get a hit or two today, and we're going to be really interested to see if Rhys Hoskins does land on second base at any point this game. What type of comments could be had, if anything, between the two? Rhys did a fantastic job on not opening his mouth until after he trotted away and was at a good multi-arm length distance. I mean, we're talking multiple feet away from Jeff before he started to open his mouth, just like a Charmin man would. Francisco Alvarez batting seventh that we see. I will never be in favor of Francisco Alvarez batting seventh, and I will stand by that. He needs to be batting fifth. I don't care if his numbers are atrocious against lefties early in his career. He's that one exception, in my opinion, to have batting fifth every single day until proven otherwise. I'm so fed up on the notion that he needs to be lower in the order to lengthen things when we have proven that even while we had a lengthy lineup, we've still struggled mightily, and we've wasted so much great talent that we've seen from Alvarez already early in his career. Give him as many opportunities to succeed as possible. Once JD Martinez is back to, I want JD batting cleanup every single day of the week. I want Alvy right behind him. I want this offense front-loaded early and often because I do not have faith in them to consistently put up the production otherwise until, again, they prove us wrong and they tell me that, okay, Francisco Alvarez is the perfect seven-hitter all throughout the year. I do not foresee that to be the case, and I will stand by that until proven otherwise. Zach Short, again, the New York native, diehard Mets fan growing up, right? Cracked the Mets bench. He will be starting at third base today. Zach Short is the only pitcher in today's Mets lineup that has a history against the southpaw and DL Hall here, to the point where he's 2 for 2 with a home run in his career against this same pitcher. DL Hall's coming over from the Baltimore Orioles last year, where he only pitched just under 20 innings. Again, a guy that is still getting acclimated at the MLB level as a consistent in what's going to be now a starter or at times a swingman for the Brewers, as they famously do at times too. But Zach Short making his Mets debut, and again, we're finding out early the type of faith or lack thereof the Mets have in Brett Baty. We know how bad Brett has been against lefties early in his career. We also know that in order to be better against certain pitching, you need to see more of certain pitching. So already the Mets are putting a hard line. The Mets are already putting a hard line in the sand on pretty much who's going to be facing lefty righties. Hopefully it isn't to this magnitude all throughout the year, because you're going to continue to hurt Baty's development. Brett, who again had a nice double play turn yesterday, then had a lousy throw to Jeff, which thankfully, honestly, for Jeff's case was the way, or else he would have been hit harder by Rhys Hoskins and could have been hurt, as he had the late slide in his second base that we saw there. And then Brett swung through a 94 mile per hour heater right down the pipe in his final strikeout yesterday. And I think that might have honestly what warranted things a little bit. But again, Zach Short, one thing he has that Brett doesn't, history against the pitcher today. And even though it's such a small sample size, the Mets factor every single little thing in. Even if they decide to not opt with that position or opt with that notion because of the numbers, they are having all the information in front of them. And again, Zach Short is the one guy who's at least seen what DL Hall has to offer at the major league level. Harrison Bader batting ninth, and I love this. I'm excited to see what Bader can hopefully do today. Bader against lefties has been tremendous in recent years in his career. Against righties, he's been absolutely cheeks. So it's about really platooning him in certain situations, and in a lefty pitcher matchup, the Mets are going righty heavy in this one, with the only exceptions being Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, and Jeff McNeil, all lefty bats who can rake against lefties. Lindor, of course, being the switch hitter, will bat from the right side of the plate, so this is more of an emphasis on Nimmo and McNeil. These guys have been two of the Mets' best hitters in recent years against lefties. It's remarkable, lefty on lefty, the amount of success they've had. So hopefully we see that continue and trend the right way today. But as you guys and gals see down below too, we have the lines right now between the Brewers and the Mets. And everybody in the live chat, let me know right now, are you yaying or naying this Mets lineup? Do you like it or not like it? Just give me a yay or a nay in the live chat. People that watch on Twitter, you can spam it too. Let me know what your thoughts are in regards to that. Do you like this lineup or do you not? Personally, I'm curious just to see how Tyrone Taylor looks in the cleanup. I have no issue with him being there whatsoever. Again, it's early in the season. You want to be experimental, especially before JD Martinez is in this lineup. I'm figuring that every single day they're going to find themselves in positions where the lineup isn't going to be the exact same really until JDM is in this lineup. So until then, I'm excited to see how the type of configuration configurations they're going to go about and the success or lack thereof that they're going to have. But yeah, let me know if you're feeling yay or nay on the lineup today. Greatly appreciate it. Alvy got to be behind you. I agree with you there for sure. I will say this though. Surprisingly, I don't hate the lineup today. I don't. And again, I'm not overly reactionary with the lineups on a day-to-day basis like I know a lot of you guys and gals are. But for me, I do like having Tyrone Taylor batting cleanup, and I'm hoping that's going to amount to success immediately today. But as we look, the Brewers are the underdog today, which might be a slight surprise, even with Luis Severino on the bump, only because Sevy, while he looked great in spring, again, has to prove it now this regular season, right? DL Hall, while he doesn't have a big sample size, still is a productive pitcher when he's been healthy that we've seen during his time in Baltimore. But Mets right now are the favorite at minus 127. So what that means for my sports bettors, if you deposit $127 and the Mets win the game outright, you come out with $227 to work with. So you're automatically up 100. For Brewers fans, or, if you just want to bet on the Brewers, if you're not liking the Mets' confidence today in winning and you think they're going to lose the series, hammer Brewers money line, plus 117. There you go. Very easy to win your money back, and then some, and then double, and then triple, whatever you want to put down. We look at run line. Milwaukee is plus 1.5 at minus 195. Mets are minus 1.5 at plus 165 because, again, they are the favorites in this game. They are the favorite versus the Brewers being the underdog. Let's see here at the game right now. Wardy, love that rubber duck. Hope you have a fantastic time, my friend. What's good, Wicked? Happy to have you in here. Why isn't JD in the lab? Don't tell me. So JD is still ramping up in Port St. Lucie because he didn't have a proper spring training. That's why he's not with the Mets right now, and that's why he won't be with the Mets until as early as April 7th, once it's already been 10 days for him, technically down there in the minor leagues ramping up. So that's the answer to that. Can I tell you after the game, Wardy? That's fine. That's fine. If you want to be that way, tell me after the game if you thought the lineup was yay or nay. That works too. But that's what we have here for both these respective teams and their lineups today. Now, let's take a look at what we have in this pitching matchup. And again, continue to let me know your thoughts if you're yaying or naying the lineup today. Greatly appreciate everybody. Thank you all so much in advance. But the pitching matchup today is a fascinating one. We got Luis Severino making his long-awaited Metropolitan debut here this regular season. This was the best pitcher for the Mets all spring training long, and now he's hoping to continue his positive production and proper sleep that he's had all offseason long for the first time in years, doing his best Dominic Smith impression out here. Speaking of Dominic Smith, who just signed a deal with the Tampa Bay Rays, shout out to you, Dom. Hope he's thriving. Hopefully the Rays can get you right, because if there's one organization that can get the best out of players analytically involved, it is the Tampa Bay Rays. So I'm wishing him well. But now we got Sevy here. Yes, I'm showing the Yanks highlights from like a year or two ago. Who cares? I'm going to do it anyway, just because I didn't want to flex spring highlights when, again, it's spring training. Rather it be against, again, guys in regular season situations format versus DL Hall here. So for those that don't know DL Hall, let's start there, because most of you Mets fans probably don't know too much about him. He pitched in just under 20 innings last season, the 24-year-old with Baltimore, had himself in 18 games, but did not start one last season at the major league level. However, in AAA, it was in 17 games and started in 11. So at the MLB level, a 3.26 ERA and just under 20 innings, a sub-3 expected ERA. In the minor leagues, in under 50 innings, 11 of them being starts, 4.22 ERA. DL Hall, again, is a guy that's been in the Baltimore Orioles organization going all the way back to 2017. He was acquired by the Brewers this past offseason, if I'm not mistaken. And now the Brewers, again, are going to show you what they have been so brilliant with over the years. That's getting the best out of their pitching. This is, again, a David Stearns philosophy during his time in Milwaukee. What do I mean by that? You're going to have guys that have usually been relievers that are stretched as starters, or you're going to even have guys that are starters that are utilized in long relief, multi-inning relief situations. So they're not going to have too many guys in their rotation this year where they're absolute locks to be starting every day of the week. But based on certain matchups and also early looks, this goes in hand with their decision making. So DL Hall, again, a guy that isn't overwhelming with this stuff, but certainly is a nice, young, savvy southpaw. That's a red flag right there. Let's just take a moment to realize this is the same Mets team that is absolutely cheeks against no-name lefties especially. This is not to slight DL Hall, but it's a reality. He is not a known lefty starter in Major League Baseball, right? And this is exactly why I have my reservations as to what to expect from the Mets offense today. They need to prove it. This is my 4th season covering the Mets, and every single season they have had the same exact problem with not being able to consistently hit against southpaws. Or when they do, it's too little too late, where it doesn't even matter then, so why even have the discussion? So it's imperative for the Mets to make sure, and I said this about Peralta yesterday, I'll say this about everybody, to get up early and often, but the reason why I have such a heavy emphasis with this with the Mets is they're a team in particular that if they do not get in a groove early, they're absolutely choking. They're absolutely cooked. Like, the likelihood of this Mets team proving to us that they're going to be able to rally back late in game is slim to none, because they have yet to show it. It's been a year and a half plus now of them doing exactly that. We haven't seen them beating this rallying Mets team where, they've had these tremendous comebacks, or, they've really gone to teams early and often in games since really the first half of the 2022 season, guys. It's been a year and a half now, not 2 years. Like, I want that to change. The narrative needs to change. Hopefully it can start today, but you absolutely need to rough up this nobody, this no-name that you might allow become Randy Johnson today because you decide not to hit. So Brandon Nimmo, Jeff in particular, lefty and lefty, you guys have been there. You have done that. I hope to see more of that production today. Tyrone Taylor, let me see how you handle those fastballs because I know you eat them up for breakfast. Pete Alonso, Pete, please, I beg of you, show a competitive at-bat. Pete, show us why you're looking for the bag this offseason. Show us why you are, again, one of the best, if not the best, sluggers in Major League Baseball. The fact that Pete has had as much struggles as he's had against some truly no-name or, subpar lefties in the past has drove me nuts, because you'd think it would be the perfect matchup, and yet it's been anything but for someone like him. Similarly, Francisco Alvarez, but I'll give Alvy the benefit of the doubt. It was his rookie year last year, basically, right? He still has a lot more growing in his game to do, so it's justified. But in the case of the veterans, like Alonso especially, and at times what we're going to see with Lindor. Lindor from the right and the left side of the plate, again, gap-to-gap home run ability. I would love to see Frankie with a bomb today, too. That'd be great. And then for the other guys, Charlie Marte. Let's see how he does against the southpaw, right? Zach Short making his debut. Tyrone Taylor, these guys. I'm excited to see how they do, but I know. Yes, you're probably looking at the matchup and you're thinking, okay, why aren't the Mets a lock to win? This Mets team has issues with their offense just as much with their pitching, if not more. And yesterday, albeit, again, the first game of the season was still a prime example of exactly that, where they have these ongoing continued issues. Wicked, Wardy, I like your promotion of analytics on the channel. Feels like most channels don't talk about them. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, my friend. Analytics are very important. Very, very important. You cannot be a good team without them in today's game of baseball, but you also want to make sure that you're not too overly analytical, because we've seen teams make boneheaded decisions in doing so. So it's about having that balance, and I definitely think the average individual should know to an extent about expected numbers, more the analytics side of things. You can't go wrong. It's definitely going to help give you a better grasp and understanding on a player's performance or lack thereof, especially at the major league level. Let's see here. Who is Short? Zach Short is a journeyman minor leaguer in his 20s still, was in the Chicago Cubs organization, has been around, competed really well for the Mets this spring. Fantastic glove that plays all over the infield. Again, probably the best bench glove the Mets have right now. You could argue that he's even better than Joey Wendell defensively. Offensively, hit for high contact, hit a grand slam against the Detroit Tigers, got himself 8 or 9 RBIs. He did everything the Mets could have asked him to do to warrant him cracking this roster on the bench, at least to begin the year, versus guys that maybe are a high contact hitter in Jose Iglesias, but Jose's 2 step behind with his defensive game, and I assure you that if Iglesias was an everyday player at the major league level right now, you would see the major hiccups he has versus the great little flash of brilliance that we saw in spring training. So Zach Short, again, this is going to be key to see how he does today. Hopefully he can take advantage of this opportunity. Again, always an exciting one too. It's chills for him as well, because this is, again, a guy that is a New York native, grew up a diehard Mets fan. I hope Mets fans can cheer for him hard, especially if you know his story. It's awesome. Unfortunately too, I'm pretty sure his grandma passed away right around the time he found out he made the Mets team over the past week or so, which sucks. So it was a bittersweet feeling, but like, that you're definitely getting hit with the heartstrings when you saw that interview. It was so hard not to. Rosario and Dom with the Rays, and now how quick time goes. It feels like yesterday, Core, that I went and saw Dom Smith and Ahmad Rosario playing for the Binghamton Mets before they were even the Rumble Ponies in Reading against the Reading Fighting Phils. It's insane how much time has went by already. Literally, like it was yesterday. Dom went 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI. And Rosario, who I went out of my way to go see for that game, of course, didn't get the start. He had an off day at the time. That's when he was the Mets' #1 prospect and was one of the top prospects in Major League Baseball. Where am I doing Sorare Group this year? Not as things currently stand. Transparently, Sorare was working with a lot of MLB creators last year, and they have completely cut things this year thus far. So maybe as the year goes on, I might be working with them. But truthfully, if I'm not actively working with them, I just will not be using the product much because my days are hectic and long as is. Like, I don't even get involved in much fantasy things, whether it's MLB fantasy and all that, just because of how hectic my days are on the day-to-day doing what I'm doing. So if they're going to be part of the channel, awesome. If they're not going to be part of the channel, then I'm likely not going to be doing stuff with them. Judge is a lanky, goofy dude too. They know to stick him in the outfield. What are we getting at? I'm so confused by that, but okay. Doesn't Zach Short? Yes, Zach Short has a podcast that he does with John Boy, actually, as a matter of fact, and with Ian Happ for the Cubs. I think it's called The Compound. It's him, Ian Happ, and one other guy that I think is still in the Cubs organization, pitcher. I could be wrong, however, though. Let's see here. What do you expect when your roster is compromised of journeymen? Here's the thing. One player is not a compromise of journeymen. You know what I mean? If the entire Mets lineup was that way, we would have a different discussion. That's not the case. That's one player who, again, I think is going to surprise some Mets fans this year and will become, in many ways, potentially the next Luis Guillorme, where he becomes a fan favorite, high contact guy, isn't overly known for the power at all, but can be utilized in any infield position and do it at an above average level. Again, he's fast, he's nifty, he's got more speed than Luis in certain times too. I'm just interested to see what Zach Short will be able to bring to the team, so I'm looking forward to that. Antoine Great Member says, I think they squared up some balls yesterday. I don't know if I would call it a issue yet. Some of the calls were horrendous yesterday, but that's every single day. Officiating is going to continue to be, pardon my French, it's going to continue to be dog shit until we see a true automated strike zone at the MLB level. Even then, it's going to be frustrating. There's a lot of work to do with it. We saw it in spring. We saw how, you can challenge a certain amount, but then you're done after that. And it can get frustrating, but still, until we have the robo-umps officially here at the major league level, it's going to continue to be this nonsense where the umps think that they have the right way of choice, when in reality, they're going to call balls a full ball or two out of the effing zone on a day-by-day, night-by-night basis. You might as well just say that Angel Hernandez is the face of MLB umpiring, because you're left wondering, is he training everyone with the way that they have been consistently dog shit for the past number of years now? You actually have to give credit where credit's due with how much they went out of their way to progressively get worse over the years. It's remarkable. It's something that the MLB should be anything but proud of. But again, I understand it's a very tricky thing when it comes to umpires, including Angel, who's sued the league over, I believe, racial discrimination, correct me if I'm wrong, because he's backed, again, by the union, the umpire union that they have. So that's why he isn't going anywhere, even if he should, and he most certainly should. Would you throw at Hoskins if you're Mendoza? See, if I was Mendoza, I would make it known that this shit isn't okay. So I'm not necessarily saying I would go the lengths of hitting him, but I would definitely pull a Jacob Rame. This time, pull a purposeful Jacob Rame. Throw him up and in. Dust him off a little bit. Let him know that we're not going to take your shit. And if he does something again to piss us off, then you drill him. But when you drill him, make sure you drill him in the best area to drill him. I'm not one that condones doing these types of things usually, because a lot of times the pitcher ends up just getting thrown out and then your team is hurt. But again, if you got to drill him and say he gets hit right on the buttock, or he gets, say, wherever, just make a statement for sure if you need to go the lengths of doing so. I just know if the game starts today and the first at-bat Sevy has with Reese and he hits him, Sevy might get thrown out right away. They might not even give a warning because of what they saw transpire yesterday. So that's my concern level there for sure. But between Luis Severino and DL Hall, in which Sevy again is coming off of a great spring that we know, he's looking to command that new slider that he's got in his mix, which is so nasty. The changeup's looking good. The fastball's touching 98 with these. Luis Severino has had the stuff. He's locked in. He's healthy. And most importantly, he's been getting sleep. Luis Severino, DL Hall, let me know, who do you have as your pitcher to win between the two in this battle? Do you think DL Hall will be the better starter today, or do you think Luis Severino will be the better starter today? Let me know in the live chat. Greatly appreciate it. Also, let me know down below, too. And that strike zone change, let in the game and put one in his ribs, says Antoine. There you go. Antoine ain't holding anything back. A message needs to be sent. I agree. I agree with you. I'm just saying I'm not in favor of sending a message if it means your starter's going to get thrown out of the game right away. If it's later on in the game where we've seen the Mets do it in the past, like once or twice, where they did throw out a guy, I think it was against the Cardinals, once they had a reliever in, especially a guy that, it's okay, because I'm pretty sure he got suspended for a couple games. That was in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. That, I think, is more of an exception. But I do not want to see a situation where Sevy's out of this game early because we're trying to retaliate, and ultimately that's how the Brewers are going to win this series, by getting under our skin and us not properly responding to it. So just bear that in mind as you evaluate things. But between Luis Severino and DL Hall, who do you think is going to have the better pitching matchup today? Make sure to let me know. Thank you all so much in advance. And then once you guys and gals do that, we're going to get on to our final segment of today's live show, and we will be back live right after the conclusion of this one, win, lose, or draw, whatever transpires. Let's see here. There is Syracuse Mets game going on right now, I believe, too, just for people that are wondering. Shout out Syracuse Mets. Joey Fuego won 5 shutty yesterday on the bump for the Mets. Drew Gilbert and Luis Angel Acuna had themselves a couple bombs, both of which I'm pretty sure off of Robert Gazelman, the former Metropolitan, the former roommate and, bunk buddy of Noah Syndergaard. That was fairly short-lived in hindsight looking back. Speaking of Noah Syndergaard, remember that dude? Remember Thor? Remember when he was the thing? Remember when we loved him? Remember when he talked shit and, remember how he's not even in the league anymore because he can't touch beyond like 92 on his fastball? Yeah, that Noah Syndergaard? Yeah. Man, oh man, have times changed in such, in my opinion, a fairly short period of time. Not easy to monologue for this long. Wardy has stream stamina of an ace in the 1970s. When you've been doing this for 3.5 years, 4 years now, TWC, it's second nature. That's the one thing I am grateful of with me being as consistent as I've been. It has made it very easy for me to lock in and know exactly what I'm doing and know exactly how I'm approaching everything. So I appreciate that compliment. Thank you. But now let's get into, last but not least, the big bets of the day. In my opinion, the bets that, again, if you're a sports bettor like me, you want to get in on the action responsibly. I know a lot of you guys and gals did exactly that yesterday. So that anyone that, again, tailed my 3-pick parlay yesterday, I sincerely apologize. I wish I had more control in the game outcome. There was valid reasoning for all my picks, but especially early on in the season, it is always such a toss-up. And that's why once we start to see trends with teams on winning streaks, that's where we want to start to pounce early and often. But as we take a look at, in my opinion, the best picks of the day today, what I like as things currently stand, mind you, the lines may have changed just a little bit since I made the graphics, so I'm going to let you know right now if they're still the same, and they have. So actually, the Mets money line, just so you guys know, is now -130, not -127. It's already changed 4 times since I've gone up today, and it might change one more time before the game starts. So if you guys want to get in on the action, if you want to favor your homer team in the Mets, and you want to hammer their money line or run line, just know that the money line is not 127 now, it is -130. But my picks of the day, Wardy's 3-pick parlay is the following, in which all the lines have probably slightly changed here, but it's going to start with a team that absolutely decimated this club in the first game, and they're looking for more. They're out for blood once again. That is the Arizona Diamondbacks. I have the D-backs today here taking down the Colorado Rockies. Again, it shouldn't be overly shocking to make this pick, but at -170 odds, currently not even -200, this is such an easy hammer for me. D-backs, again, won at right around, 16-1 in their first game against the Rockies. They had a 13 or so inning, 13-run inning in the first couple innings of game 1 in their matchup. Just ridiculous stuff. So I'm taking the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're an absolute wagon. They have so much great talent. Headline offensively by Corbin Carroll, their new big bopper at the hot corner, and Eugenio Suarez, Christian Walker, and so many others. I'm hammering that. Reds run line too. Love Reds run line today. The Cincinnati Reds are playing our rival Washington Nationals, even though it's a lopsided rivalry right now. Reds line currently at -1.5, which means the Reds need to win and make sure that they win by at least 1.5 runs at +105 odds. Are you kidding me? Hunter Green on the bump against Patrick Corbin? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Hammer that. That is like such, honestly, aside from the D-back, you could take your coin flip. I could even argue that I like the Reds pick maybe slightly more than the D-backs today, but for the sake of wanting to stay money line with my pick of the day and not doing run line for a second consecutive day, D-backs are my favorite pick of the day, but the Reds are right under them there. Again, you're telling me for the Reds to win by at least 1.5 runs more than what you're getting from your opponent in the Nationals, a plus 105 odds, which means you don't even need to drop 100 to win 100. That is such an easy hammer in my opinion. I absolutely love that matchup for the Reds today. Hunter Green's going to be touching a hundo plus on the gun. We know that. We're going to see Patrick Corbin again continue to be Patrick Corbin, which is very Jekyll and Hyde in what you're getting. And this is also, if I'm not mistaken, in Cincinnati too. So further reasoning as to why you want to hammer Patrick Corbin in the biggest hitters park not named Colorado against a flamethrower in Hunter Green with the star-studded, locked and loaded, young, exciting offense that the Reds have. Absolute hammer there on Reds run line. I see a comment. I got D-backs my line, Padres my run line, and Phillies plus 1.5. What do you think? Ooh, I like that, Christopher. I like that for sure. If you've been doing that with our amazing sponsor, BetUS especially, thank you so much in advance. If you're not, that's totally cool too. But regardless, I appreciate you getting on the action. D-backs my line. I love that. Padres run line. I like that a lot too. Phillies plus 1.5. My only concern with Phillies plus 1.5 is what happened yesterday. You know, I thought that they were such a lock for their run line because right now Phillies plus 1.5, minus 140. They're the underdog today at plus 119 on the money line. But you know what? After getting embarrassed the way that they did yesterday, yeah, I think that's still fairly safe, you know, just for the sake of the Phillies either win outright or they need to make sure that they lose by a certain amount of runs, right? So I like that for sure. I like those picks. Shout out to you, Christopher. And last but not least, the final pick that we have today is Mariners money line at minus 145 odds currently. Let me double check to make sure that is still the case and it hasn't changed because again, these lines do change fairly often. Yep, still minus 145 for the Seattle Mariners. This has been a really tight series so far between the Red Sox and the Mariners, but why am I liking the Mariners most today? Well, one, I do like their offense. Even with the Red Sox having some boppers there for sure, I love their pitching matchup so much more. Logan Gilbert on the bump today for the Mariners. Need I say more? That's where you hammer, and that's where you go where your 3-pick parlay. And just to give you guys and gals an understanding, if you do the 3-pick parlay like I am today, again, shout out to Wardy's 3-pick parlay. If you take Seattle on the money line, if we go up here and we're going to take also the Arizona Diamondbacks again on the money line, and then we're going to go and take the Cincinnati Reds on the run line. If I place a bet for this right now as things currently stand, dropping 100 would win me 450. So naturally, I do not suggest ever dropping that much on a 3-pick parlay, but even for the sake of dropping $20, I can win 90 outright. So again, this is where it's a lot of fun to do a 2 or 3-pick parlay. See how you do with simple money line or run line matchups for your MLB slates of the day. These are the picks that I like most. So again, make sure to get in on the action. Thank you all so much in advance, and absolutely thank you for checking out our great friends at BetUS. But that's going to do it for me, folks. The Mets game starts in just a couple minutes, and I'm going to be sitting in this chair all day watching and preparing for our post-game show. Once more, we will not be live tomorrow for pregame coverage. It's Easter. Happy Easter to you all that celebrate, of course. He is risen. Excited for that, but I will not be doing pregame. I will be doing, if anything, just postgame, and it might be a little bit later than after the conclusion of the game, depending on what I'm doing with the family, because again, it's the holiday. Always got to prioritize that. Regardless, though, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, the Mets can even this series up, and I will see you all later in today's postgame show live on both YouTube, where you hit that like and subscribe on, and on Twitter, where you hit that like, follow, and retweet. And I'll talk to you again real soon.